The following program is paid for by the Charlie Butler team. Looking for tips on selling your home? Tune in to the Charlie Butler Show right here on WGBF AM every Sunday at 9 a.m. The Charlie Butler Show, where your questions get answers. Charlie guarantees it.
Good Sunday morning, Tri-State. This is the Charlie Butler Real Estate Show, and I'm here with my usual cast of characters, plus one. To my left here, David Crow, and David, of course, is from Churchill Mortgage. He stays a little quiet, but, we have to draw him out, So, David, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Charlie. Hello. Good morning, everyone.
Over on the end is Candace DeArmond. Candace tries to keep everybody in line. So
I try.
Although all we got to do is get here on time, and we can misbehave for a long time before Candace gets here.
Amen.
Oh, now.
So, good morning, Candace.
Good morning, Charlie.
And, of course, our producer, we can't forget him, especially now that your indoor plumbing is in now, right?
Yeah, we're all good to go on it.
Okay. Did you tear the outhouse down, or did you?
No, I kept it for my dog. He goes out there and still uses it. And,
Okay.
Yeah, he likes all the meatloaf posters.
Dogs out there playing Paradise by Dashboard Lights. But good morning, Jordan.
How you doing, dude?
I'm doing good. Going to see Cody Jinks tomorrow night.
Heck yeah.
At St. Louis Music Center.
I just went and saw A Day to Remember for the third time this past Sunday. Met Hardy, the
Did
country
you?
singer. Yeah, I got Met Hardy
that's
there.
awesome.
Yeah.
Hardy's good.
He's a short dude. He's only like 5'6". Real short
I
guy.
had no clue he was that
yeah.
short.
Yeah, he's a short dude. And then I'm seeing Blink-182 next week.
Yeah, I never know if you're going to see somebody like
Taylor Swift.
or like Donny Osmond or some just long-haired dope-addict band,
And all of it. It's the whole spectrum I'm going to see.
And we've got a special guest today, also from Keller Williams, and we're going to get into her story here in just a little bit. But Stephanie Robles, good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning, Charlie. Thanks for having me here today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for coming, David. I heard something this morning that made me think of you. No, it really did. No, I was reading something. Okay, nothing.
I wish people could see us all laughing and smiling. We were all going to be sarcastic, including myself.
So I'm reading about an old interview with Warren Buffett, and they asked him about what's the best advice he's heard from an economist. And he said, best advice I heard didn't come from an economist. He said, didn't come from Benjamin Graham either. He said it came from George Bush. He said George Bush, during the financial crisis, said, if we don't loosen this money up a little bit, this whole sucker's going to go down.
Yep.
And he said right there is the best piece of advice. He said, considering what's going on now with this tight monetary policy.
That's exactly the case. You're talking about back in 2000, well, probably with
8 and 9. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say 7 and then 8 and leading into that, which was the election.
They really didn't get public until 8. Yeah.
So ultimately, that was exactly the case. And, you're talking about monetary policy. And right now, folks, we are taping on a Wednesday morning.
Yes.
Okay. So I only say that not to, ruin. We want everybody to enjoy their Sunday mornings. But this afternoon, the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, they're having their July meeting, and they're going to make their announcement on a Fed cut. And it's probably not going to happen July, but we're pretty much more than 100% sure, barring anything crazy, we are going to receive a September cut.
Yes.
Now, I say that only because Jerome Powell and the Feds, they're struggling right now of also keeping things too tight for too long. And they really feel like we're on that brink of we need to start cutting and loosening that money up, as you just said, because now we're cutting into the labor market, we're cutting into unemployment, not cutting in terms of reducing, actually those numbers going up. And so this week on Friday, even though we're taping on Wednesday, ADP jobs report's going to come out today. Actually, it already has. They estimated a creation of 150,000 jobs. We only received 122,000. ADP, I think, is a true representation versus the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, BLS jobs report, which is coming out Friday. BLS, the last 2 months, have ruined our party on rates going down by what we perceive as inaccurate data. And BLS, even from they revised their jobs report and reduced it 50,000. So we're hoping this Friday, BLS continues to show a decline in jobs. All of that carries through to a weaker employment market, which solidifies a September cut of at least 50 basis points on the federal funds rate to us. Now, I said all that education right there on the radio. It really means that we're anticipating starting now, and I'm already seeing it, long-term interest rates are going to start pushing down on mortgages and homes and so forth.
Which as we always tell people, are not directly tied to the Fed funds, or actually in any way are they tied to the Fed funds, except psychologically.
Correct.
They look at the 10-year bond, if on CNBC.
Charlie dropped all the way to 4. Before we started taping, it was 4.09.
I haven't looked this morning.
Yeah, so it was already at 4.09. That's down from 4.17. So, folks, if you're listening, as the 10-year Treasury moves down, long-term interest rates are expected to move down, being mortgages. Mortgage-backed securities, conversely, were up today. So as they go up, that too leads to your quote-unquote 30-year mortgage rates are seeing a decline right now. And that's exactly what I've experienced this week. I've been experiencing it, but I'm seeing some of my competitions experiencing it finally. So
now, don't get too technical for the ladies' day.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep. Stephanie doesn't know this joke.
David was explaining this one time, and at that time, Kylena was also
Was he
a co-host.
mansplaining?
Well, he said, to break it down for you ladies, or something like that. To break it down for you ladies.
Yeah, classic mansplaining.
I'm telling you.
You've never got to live that one.
We're
never
never
will.
letting him live it down. And that's the only time I've ever heard David say anything like that.
yeah.
So I love bringing it
That's
up.
the only time.
Yeah.
That's why we
he has
only have
daughters
this
and everything.
one story.
That's why we're like, well, we're just painting our fingernails. We don't know.
So, David, so kind of getting more direct to homeowners now. I know you mentioned before we come on the air that Churchill mortgage rates have been going down.
We have been going down, and we've experienced that really over the last 2 weeks, but especially over the last week. And I made the joke because I keep up. I've got over 20 years here. I know every loan officer in Southern Indiana, Western Kentucky, most of them. And so I keep tabs. And I actually have had lenders locally send their buyers to me because they couldn't qualify at that lender's current interest rate. And I had lower rates, lower cost, and could qualify them. So I have now seen this week rates as low as 6.25. And so, folks, I know if you're just listening to us, you're like, oh, 6. Well, welcome to the party.
We are very happy about
That's an excellent rate.
That's an excellent rate.
Right.
Yes.
Stephanie's right. That's a very, if you go back, not that far.
Not that far, folks.
6.25, you'd be a great rate. I refied once to get a 6 point something. I can't remember
Exactly. I know.
Yeah.
So, no, honestly, April and May. I mean, we're sitting here. Actually, this will air in August, first weekend of August. And so just April and May was not a fun time with what the, national markets did.
No.
So I will say, I'm just going to tag this one and we'll talk about later because I want you all to talk about stuff. As you hear rates are going down, everyone listening to us thinks, yay, that's great. However, if you're sitting on the fence and waiting for rates to drop, when those rates drop, everyone else is going to come in the market. So what's going to happen is the homes you see right now and the prices you see right now, those prices are going to rise.
Prices are going to go up.
Today is the great day to get out and start looking for a new home.
It really is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Get something under contract. Get something under
Absolutely,
contract.
absolutely.
Yeah, if you've been looking and you've got something you got your eye on, get it under contract.
Absolutely. So do not think you're the only one that's just waiting for those rates to go down.
Yeah, the whole world is.
Because you're not.
No.
And much like the stock market, and I'll use Warren Buffett again. Warren Buffett, once someone asked him, well, how do you time the market the way you... He said, I don't time the market. He said, those that time the market usually don't come out very well, that try to time it. Like you wait for that next half point, the next point, and it never happens.
Nope.
Or that house you wanted is gone.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them to drop the price. Boom, it's gone.
Yeah.
They never dropped it. It's gone.
Yeah. it went over full price.
Yeah,
So,
like Warren always said, when everyone else is scared, that's when I'm greedy.
Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful.
And folks, we're going to see some fear because as the unemployment rate pushes up, that does mean that people will lose their jobs. And we're already seeing that. And we're hoping the BLS jobs report gives true data this coming Friday to truly reflect that. So if you feel comfortable in your position, comfortable in your job, you need to be buying a home now. So
now, like with Stephanie, and I know Candace does, but working with investors. Investors, they are greedy when others are fearful.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's when they move in right then, because
for sure.
that's when they can make the biggest profit.
Yep.
Yep.
And
well, Charlie, I'm just going to say this, and I was going to hold this, but you just brought up investors.
Mm-hmm.
You and I both know that many times investors are using cash, or they're using some type of jumbo loan,
Right.
greater than a conforming loan being
Line of credit,
760
something. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So data just came out this morning. 12-month, 6% appreciation. That's what we're seeing in homes. And so that was Case Sheller. We're talked about 6%, and that's where they were a year ago. So you're talking about, as people say, I'm waiting for home prices to drop, quote unquote. They ain't dropping, folks. They're there. And those people who have purchased are experiencing approximately 6% appreciation nationwide. Now, the reason I brought up jumbo and cash is FHA, that is another entity that monitors appreciation. They, too, are seeing 6%. But here's the key with them. They only look at residential homes with a conforming loan limit of $766,550 in our market or below. And they, too, it strips out cash and it strips out jumbo loans. They, too, are at 5.8% appreciation, simply looking at single-family residential homes at conforming loan limits.
Yeah.
I'm just simply saying you should have been in the market already.
Yes.
Homes are doing nothing but going up. You're building equity. So go buy a home.
Yep.
which I just had while you were talking, David. I just looked this up. That this morning so far, the Nasdaq's up over 400. Dow's up 250. So I mean, it's a good day right now.
The ADP jobs report coming in below expectations. The stage is being set for a higher unemployment rate, which is going to solidify a reduction in the federal funds rate. Mm-hmm. The only thing that can spoil our party is if the BLS gives a jobs number on Friday that resembles last month's job number, to which people were calling it the BLS jobs report.
That's what I was thinking as you were saying.
That's exactly. So, hey, folks, get out there, buy homes, good time. Summer, it's bright, it's hot, warm.
Also, the market is less than 1 point now from breaking 41,000.
Everything's good. Yeah.
But anyway, David, how one of the important things I know Stephanie and Candace would especially agree is getting pre-approved.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Before, Stephanie, do you like to take people out before they get pre-approved?
No, I do not. No.
What about you, Candace?
You know my rule on that.
Yeah. I was like,
As David passes out business cards.
not only do I not like doing that, I do not do that. That is not a thing in my world. And it's just kind of one of those, set the stage, set the expectation. You know, you've got to know if you can buy before you start going looking at what you want to buy.
Yes.
What loan programs?
Or what loan
You know,
programs, yeah.
because there's sometimes that people will call and they'll say they want a fixer-upper, and an
They can
FHA
only-
loan
they
is
can
what
only
they're
do
getting.
FHA,
They
yeah.
can't have a fixer-upper.
That whole term
Exactly.
fixer-upper loan is that's a whole nother show all by itself. We'll just hold right there.
Yes, it
let's
is.
not go down.
No. That's why I'm over going.
Yeah.
That's how it gets dark and twisty real
Yes.
quick.
It's
real
very dark and twisted. You're like, oh, great, you're paying cash.
Exactly. Home equity line of credit? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so anyway, David, how can they get a hold of you to get pre-approved?
Folks, definitely want to get pre-approved before you get out there looking for homes. And honestly, it helps them because based on their credit score, based on how much money they actually have at their personal fingertips or where they're looking, helps dictate that loan, and which can also dictate their maximum purchase power.
Yes.
Okay? So please, folks, give me a call. I'd love to help you get pre-approved. Cell phone number like all of us, 270-222-0676. Be happy to help you.
And pay some bills here real quick. The Charlie Butler Real Estate Show brought to you by Churchill Mortgage and, of course, and David Crow. David is the area director for Southern Indiana and Western Kentucky, and so he can help you in Indiana or Kentucky, either one.
Amen.
And so whenever when you're listening to Dave Ramsey, who's on right before us, and they give a number on there, and those are great people in Brentwood that they give that number for. But if you want to talk directly to somebody local, and I think most of us do, it's a whole lot better. Call the number David gave you, and because that number is an 800 number that takes you to the fine folks in Brentwood, Tennessee.
Yep.
And also brought to you by Bossy Title, and Jeff Bossy and his crew do just an amazing job. They helped me out on a deal just a couple of days ago that's not even theirs. They're not making any money off of it, but they stepped in and helped out, and that's the kind of people they are. They do a first-class job, have an attorney on staff for any problems, and of course Norm is there for any real problems. Norm is for those who don't know, Norm is the CFO, which stands for Chief French Bulldog Officer.
Charlie normally says Chief
That
Frenchie
Norm,
Officer,
okay.
but he
Yes,
has to then
yes,
come back and
I know.
clarify that one.
Yeah, that's anyway. But only way you can get Norm will come out and greet everybody if he's not sunning at the time, because he has a bed in Jeff's office right by the window there. So, but anyway, just call the fine folks at Bossy Title for your real estate search needs. That will get you taken care of. And I think we're going to kind of add Stephanie into this conversation where we left Candace at last week. For those that don't know, there is a new, I always want to say buyer's agency agreement. It's not a buyer's agency agreement. It's a buyer's, what is it?
It is a buyer's.
It is a yeah.
It's a buyer's agency agreement, broker compensation agreement.
Yeah.
It says everything on the form.
So Candace, you want to do just a quick recap of what that is from what you started last week, and then we'll bring both of you in this.
Basically, it defines how we get paid. So historically, how things have worked, and it's probably still going to work pretty similar to this. We just have some extra paperwork. The listing agent gets paid a commission from the seller. That listing agent then takes a portion of that commission that the seller has agreed to pay them, and they take their commission and they pay a buyer's agent. And the reason for that is it's like 9% of realtors that have listings actually bring the buyer. So when a listing agent is paying for a buyer's agent to come in, they're doing that because it's another way to advertise for that seller, right, and get as much traffic in as possible for that listing that they're working to get sold. So a listing agent takes, let's say they take 3% of their 6% commission, and they are advertising. They're saying, hey, buyer's agents, this is what we're going to pay you if you bring the buyer. And then that is how a buyer's agent gets paid. Now we have to have a form signed that states, exactly, whenever we're going in, what our commission is going to be. That if the seller isn't paying it, that the buyer will pay that commission. However, we can also waive that commission. We can adjust that and do whatever needs to be done. And I think it's a pretty across the board. All of us realtors are working together to negotiate our commissions between buyers and sellers agents. So it is a new form. It is a law that we have to have it signed before we let people in the door. And that's pretty much, what it is.
Now I've had, as also one of my other roles is managing broker for Keller Williams, but so I've had agents call me and say, well, people are saying to me this is a scam. Buyers are, and so what do you say to that?
I will sit down. And
I told you I was going to say yes.
I will read the lines of the contract and explain. And then, there's a lot of resources that we can pull.
I was getting ready to say, I'm not a realtor, but let's be honest.
Yes.
Even in my line, many times I have people, I'm like, Google it.
Yeah.
Right.
This is not, it's
and there are
very
some
easy.
credible websites that you
I've
can
even
get
had people
this
with
information.
lending qualifications, or they'll say, I don't think that's correct. And I'm like, okay, don't trust me. Just jump on Safari, Chrome,
hop on Google.
this.
It's fine. Yeah.
So it's pretty easy to Google what's going on right now.
Dave, I've got a niece who was, she's retired now, but she's a principal in one of the Phoenix schools. And she was once in the Final Five in the nation for Principal of the Year.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she tells her kids, there is no excuse for ignorance when you have Google.
Amen.
That's
exactly.
true. Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't believe everything on the internet, but there's plenty of
there are lots of credible
right
sites
now.
that you can get on.
Yeah.
And yes.
So-
But Candace, in reading that agreement, there's things on there that says the buyer has to pay.
There are things on there that says that the buyer has to pay. Now,
But what if I don't want my buyer to pay?
well, you can put on there 0%. If seller refuses to pay,
Well, I can't
buyer,
put zero on there because then I can't get paid by
and that would be something that you'd agree to. I'm not going to agree to work for free. I don't think most people would. And
but can't you go in there a place in further conditions where you can go
Yes.
and say,
yes, you can state out exactly what's going on. That
Right.
you will whatever you've agreed to.
Right.
You will.
Right.
That's how you'll get paid. Basically, it is just explaining. It is telling them exactly this is how I'm going to get paid to do a job that you are hiring me to do. And I'm going to negotiate with the seller as best as I can. Before we go into a home, I will be calling the seller's agent and asking, hey, what is the broker's compensation here? And so I will be able to tell that to the buyer, and that's pretty much.
So
it's
if-
complicated, but it's
if I'm listing my house
Mhm.
and I'm offering X and percent commission,
Mhm.
which is, and you've got Y on your percent on your buyer's agent contract, which is lower.
Mhm.
I only have to pay you what's on your buyer's agent contract.
that's correct. Yes, that's correct.
So, just for agents out there, protect yourself on that too. And Stephanie, how are you handling this?
I'm doing okay with it. I feel like, and I don't know if I've ever discussed this with you, but I sold in a Maryland-based market beginning like 2001 to 2009.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No.
Hello. Lots of
Yeah.
things you don't know about me, Mr. Charlie Butler. But that was part of our requirements at that time. That was just how my board operated in that region that I was selling, is that you did need to have a buyer's agency agreement. And the reason for that was more so that clients versus customers versus looky-loos all knew the position of the real estate agent. We all knew, if you're this, then I represent you this way. If you're this, then I represent you that way, et cetera, et cetera. For me, it's not something that I have done since I started selling in Indiana, just because, it's just another piece of paperwork. Zillow really kind of helped shadow that whole buyer's consult thing, because you'd get these Zillow calls and you need to go out and you're like, I'll just have the consult at the house, and we'll talk about stuff then. So now it's kind of just, if it becomes part of your repertoire and if it becomes part of something that you just do regularly, then it's going to come naturally. And it's important to have the conversation just so they know who's getting paid and how. So
Yeah, and it is. So how much do you think it's helped you having worked with this before?
for one thing, it has sifted out the unserious buyers. Okay. So for me, it's like, okay, I have to now have this conversation with you. It's required by law. I need about 15 minutes of your time. We can do it on the phone. You can come into my office, but we're going to go over this agreement and we'll decide if we're ready to work with each other or not. But before I show you the house, that's how it's got to go. And so if they're really serious, then they're going to meet with me. They're going to call me. They're going to ask questions about it. They're going to engage, right? And if they're not, if they just saw a house, they're not pre-approved, they looked at a sign, they've been tossing around the idea, we don't really know. Okay, then we go into the nurture pile. Okay, we'll talk every other week until you're ready to come in and have the discussion about moving forward with the home buying journey. So that's how it's helped me. I mean, that's how I'm using it. It's just another tool to kind of sift out stuff that, you know, those that aren't ready to move up the football field versus those that want to stay on the sidelines a little bit longer.
Right.
Charlie, can I add to something Stephanie said? There's
You're going
a limit.
anyways.
I know. Folks, and I say this to other realtors that just heard what Stephanie explained, especially when you brought in the Zillow leads, okay? So I've had in the past, current, I'll go fast here. Jordan says, shut up. Real quick, buyer calls Zillow lead. Realtor runs out, shows them a home.
Yep.
Realtor says, call David Crow, get pre-approved. They call me. They don't like that home. Next thing I know, a week later, a different realtor says, hey, you're working with these people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there was another realtor to send them. Mm-hmm. And then finally, 3 weeks go by, and I get a third realtor who sends me a purchase contract because that looky-loo just kept bouncing around and maybe never understood what a realtor was there to do.
Right.
And so when you were explaining that, I thought having that up front and setting that expectation would have saved a lot of realtors in the past and kept that client with them potentially versus I just really didn't have that discussion. And I'm like, well, as a loan officer, you don't realize this buyer, I've now been in contact with 3 separate realtors with the same buyer. And the last one is who got the deal, so to speak. All right, I'm shutting up, Jordan.
Okay.
So I wasn't ready for David to quit talking. So
I know. I wasn't either. I was filing my nails. I just didn't expect that.
None of us expected that to happen quickly. Yeah.
We've only got 2 minutes left, but Stephanie's going to be with us next week too.
Yes.
We're going to talk about her career. Stephanie has taken a different path. She's been successful, but she's taken a different path. And Jordan, we've taken care of your bathroom situation. Okay, so now that we've
How's your living room doing?
Yeah, right. Are you going to come design it next? Are you going to redo it?
No, we're just we're just concerned about the girlfriend.
There's nothing to be concerned about. Everything's going good.
Everything's going good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Perfect.
Jordan,
everything's all right.
Awesome. Yeah.
Stephanie, I had, and you haven't been here before, so I had a. Before real estate, which was a long time ago, I sold diamonds.
Oh.
And so Jordan, I've offered to give him my expert advice.
Oh, Jordan, are you there?
No.
You're not there yet. Oh. And does she listen to this?
Yeah, she knows.
And it is just as awkward every week when Charlie brings it up.
I can tell it's awkward for Jordan. He's just like, oh gosh.
No, same situation as last time.
Yeah.
No updates.
No updates at all?
No, not at all.
We are out of time, and Candace over going, thank goodness.
Oh.
And so
by the bell.
for Stephanie, thank you for being here, and
No
we're going to continue this.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
For Candace DeArmond, Stephanie Robles, David Crow, this is Charlie Butler, and of course for Jordan and his girlfriend. Have a great Sunday.
You've got real estate questions but don't know where to get the answers? Tune in here every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. as Charlie Butler, Evansville's own real estate expert, shares the latest news, info, and insider tips to help you make smart real estate decisions. Find him online at charliebutlerteam.com. This program has been paid for by the Charlie Butler team. From the Kate Foppel Ford Studios, this is News Talk 1280 WGBF.